When I was in $200,000 of debt after graduating from law school, I knew that if I wanted to climb out of that debt, I had to live a frugal lifestyle. For me, it was necessary to get that financial freedom I wanted. For years, I was frugal out of necessity. I was a broke student and tried to figure out every way possible to pinch pennies. Even though now I'm debt-free, I still keep those frugal tendencies because they've become a habit, part of who I am. In today's video, I'm going to discuss 25 money-saving tips from Frugal People. I wanted to make this video comprehensive, so there's a mixture of well-known tips, ones that I use to pay off my debt, and some unique ones that I've found. Feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps in the description. First up, we have become a member of the library. This one might seem a little outdated. You've probably only used the library in university or high school. You know, when you were pretending to read books when in actuality you only read the summaries. But libraries aren't just a place for studying. Before the internet, they were trendy places that tailored their resources for the community. This is still the case now. You can find books, magazines, newspapers, music, and my personal favorite, audiobooks. There are even apps like Libby by Overdrive that allow you to rent the audiobooks without ever having to go to the library, practically a free version of Audible. All you need is a valid library card number. Libraries are also very accommodating if you don't have the book you're looking for. Then in most cases, you can actually just ask them to buy it. But don't tell Jeff Bezos I told you this. Number 2, avoid brand loyalty. We all have our favorite brands. We're loyal to them because we're convinced they offer the best quality. But sometimes we have to accept that Apple isn't the only company making phones. A person living a frugal lifestyle doesn't limit themselves to only one brand. If they love a particular type of product, they'll find the best one from any company. A frugal person is always on the lookout for a good deal. They might spend more time in stores looking around and comparing prices to get something at an affordable price instead of buying right away because it's their favorite brand. This is especially obvious in other countries like India, where the best-selling phone isn't the iPhone, but Xiaomi. Not only is it cheaper, but some would argue it has more features than the iPhone. Some of you might already be lucky with this third tip. Frugal people often have frugal friends. By having frugal friends, not only can we learn from them, but sometimes they can even team up together when it comes to sharing products, spices, transportation. Frugality is not just about skimping on everything all the time, but it's also about maximizing what you have so that you don't need as many things. Having like-minded friends makes this easier, as opposed to having friends who are always wanting to go out to expensive restaurants. Tip number 4 isn't just a frugal tip, but also an environmental one. Carrying a water bottle. There are many reasons why people carry around a reusable water bottle with them all day. Some do it for health purposes, and others do it as part of their personal lifestyle choice. Even if you don't drink from your own bottle every single day, having one at hand can really come in handy during those times when you need some refreshment right away and there's no tap in sight. The average cost for a single bottle of water is $1, and if you're buying 3 a day, that's costing you over $1,000 per year, which you can put away towards a water filter like Brita if your tap water isn't to drinking standards. Continuing our healthy living frugal tips, the next habit is walking or cycling instead of driving. For those of us who live in the city, it can seem impossible to save money when paying for gas and parking. Making a simple switch to walking or cycling isn't just a great way to get exercise, but it also saves you tons of money on gas and parking and your car. Since I lived in Tokyo, this was an easy switch for me. There's an abundance of cycling lanes, public transport is everywhere, and my local supermarket was within walking distance. Tip number 5 is sharing subscriptions. It can be so easy to lose track of all your subscriptions, and their collective costs start to add up. In an ideal frugal universe, each provider would have your best interests at heart. Sadly, we know that's not the case, so it's up to you to shop around for the best deal. A simple one to look for is checking if they have any couple or family plans available. Recently, my husband and I noticed that we were both paying for an individual Spotify plan, but if we swapped to the dual plan, we could save $6.99 per month for the exact same thing. Tip number 6 can make a significant impact on your spendings, and it's so simple to implement. Frugal people try to stay on top of their monthly food spending and work out how they can reduce it. Because even the most frugal of people have their lazy days, but if they're not careful, that can quickly snowball into a whole week of takeaway. And all those takeaways start to add up. So the best practice is to look at your monthly spending on food and see what can be cut. The next tip a lot of frugal people follow is a do-it-yourself approach to your lifestyle. The average homeowner spends more than $3,000 in maintenance costs and more than $1,500 in home-related emergency expenses. If you own a car, an oil change can easily cost upwards of $70 when you get it done by a professional. But if you learn how to do some of these things yourself, you'll save money. With YouTube, you can learn anything you want. There are videos with millions of views showing you how to change your oil, and just like that, instead of paying a professional to do it, you've done it yourself. Do this a few times and you've mastered it. You won't even need to watch the video. Tip number 8 is cutting back on entertainment expenses. I'm sure for most of us, those expenses were naturally cut back the last 2 years or so, but back in 2019, the average American spent more than $3,000 a year on entertainment. While some events are definitely worth the money, like a once-in-a-lifetime concert, you also want to consider all the free forms of entertainment. You can go to a national park and maybe bring along your own picnic, or go for a hike. Many museums offer cost-free admissions on specific days. You can also binge watch my YouTube channel if you're really bored. One of my free hobbies is going to dog parks and just watching all of the cute little dogs because my buildings never seem to allow pets. The point is that there are so many ways to enjoy free entertainment. The next frugal habit people have is planning out meals for the week and going grocery shopping with an actual list. If you have a list, it forces you to stick to it and not get carried away once you get to the supermarket. Another easy one to implement is stop going grocery shopping on an empty stomach. I don't know if there are any studies to back this, but I always end up spending more when I go shopping hungry. My stomach just takes over and everything in the aisle seems to end up in my cart. And also, plan ahead. If you know you have a busy week ahead, maybe you meal prep for the week on Sunday. Tip number 10 is looking at your current memberships and subscriptions, the things you're paying for monthly, and see if they're really worth it or if there's a way that you can reduce them or cut them out completely. Take a look at your phone bill, for instance. Maybe you can switch to a less expensive cell phone carrier. Or maybe there's a way to reduce your phone bill. Check out this TikTok I made for some inspiration. I'd like $300 off this phone bill, please. We can't just give you $300 off, sorry. She has no idea. Follow Erika. Watch this. Actually, I've read your terms and know you offer discounts for certain people. Okay, I'm guessing you're a nurse or first responder. No, but I know they can get discounts at Verizon. Okay, you're military or a veteran? We have discounts for that. No, I'm actually calling for my sister. I know you give discounts for students and teachers, and she's a current student. Fine. There are 2 lines on her account, and she can save $25 a month, which adds up to $300 over the year. I'll apply the discount now. Who taught you this? Erika did. She's a lawyer and reads the fine print, so I don't have to. That's why I follow her. The next frugal habit that I love is gym memberships. Do you really need to be spending on a gym membership, or is that something you can cut out? I recently got rid of my gym membership after being a member of Gold's Gym, and now I'm just doing workouts at home, and honestly, it's more convenient, and there are so many free workouts that you can find online. There's also a free app that I love. It's called the Nike Training app, and there are some really intense workouts on there. The next frugal habit that I love is this: don't shop for clothing. This started a few years back when I decided to be really frugal because I had that $200,000 of student loans to pay off, and so I just decided not to buy any new clothes. Obviously besides socks and undies. And even when I paid off my student loans after being really frugal for 2 years, that habit stuck with me. And now I just wear the same white shirts every day on YouTube, and I have a pretty simple wardrobe off camera too. If you really look after your clothing, you'll be surprised at how long it actually lasts. Now we're almost halfway. I want to share the story of Hiroto Kiritani and how he survived for over 36 years off solely coupons. The only things he spends his own money on are rent and bills. Everything else he has a coupon for. Hiroto was a professional shogi, Japanese chess player, who became interested in investing in stocks when he was around 35 in 1984. And he quickly developed a taste for it, which was encouraged by the stock bubble of the 1980s. Unfortunately, in late 1989, the Nikkei stock average crashed and he lost around 100 million yen, which is around $1 million US. A huge blow, obviously, for every investor. Luckily, shareholders in Japan qualify for certain benefits offered in the form of coupons and vouchers. For example, if you invest in a food company, maybe they give you coupons for free food as an investor. Even during these hard financial times, Hiroto was able to survive solely off these coupons. And not even frugally. In one Japanese news report, they follow Hiroto around for an entire night. He is able to eat and drink until the morning for free, while also using his coupons to pay for the news crew's food and drink as well. Now, if you're not living in Japan, I doubt you'll be able to find a way to gather enough coupons to survive for 36 years, but what you can do is use any coupons that you do have. Check all those annoying junk letters and see if there's any value in them. Also, sign up for store points cards. Before we get to number 13, which you definitely don't want to miss, as many of you know, I'm really passionate about investing. So I'm excited to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Moomoo. Moomoo is a commission-free trading app with no investing minimum. The amazing thing is, just by using my link in the description, you'll get the chance to earn up to 5 free stocks worth between $3,000 to $3,500 in value based on current market prices. I'll show you one of my favorite features of the app here. They provide 24/7 financial news so that you can see what's happening, and you can actually filter by positions, meaning you'll only see news of the stocks that you own. Or if you have your eye on some stocks, let's say Amazon and Disney, you can go put stars on them and then filter to just see news from your starred companies. That's just one of the many cool features. So if you're looking for a new trading platform and want the chance to earn 5 free stocks worth between $3,000 to $3,500, make sure you use the link in the description while the offer lasts. Now back to the video. Number 13. Be patient and wait for the best price. Personally, I'm not a fan of sales because it's easy to get carried away and you usually end up spending more and buying things that you wouldn't have purchased if they weren't on sale. But if your self-control is better than mine, then waiting for sales can be a great way to save money. Frugal people find items they're interested in and then wait for the sales to buy them. With the advent of online shopping, it's never been easier. You don't have to keep going physically into the store to see if the sale has started. You just check their website once in a while. The next tip is related to this patient mentality. Frugal people don't buy from the first store they go to. It's easier to trust Amazon with all your purchases, but sadly, it's not always the cheapest. Frugal people shop around until they find the best price for the item that they're looking for. An easy way to do this is with Google Shopping. Type the item you're looking for into Google, then click the Shopping tab. Google then shows you all the stores selling that product. You can sort by price and find deals really quickly. That said, on the topic of buying products, frugal people often only buy what they actually need. There's a great video on my friend Nate O'Brien's channel where he shows you his frugal apartment. He only has the bare necessities in his apartment because that's what he uses. He doesn't even own a toaster because if he wants to toast bread, he can just fry it in a frying pan. And tip number 16 creates the perfect loop to these last 3 tips. Sell stuff you don't need. In our busy lives, it's easy to just put unused items in the attic or storage, but you'd be surprised at who's interested in buying your stuff if you try. That old gadget that you no longer need might be the exact item that a college student needs for their sci-fi film. And even if you don't make a lot of money selling all of your unused items, you'll save a ton on storage costs or moving costs. And best of all, your home will be less cluttered, making it appear bigger. And if you want to see a very extreme example of how I sold everything, you can watch this video right here that I'll also link below. For people in smaller cities, this next tip might be second nature. Ask your friends or neighbors for items that you need to borrow. Simple things like borrowing lawnmowers can save you so much compared to the price of purchasing one yourself. In Japan, where I lived for the last 5 years, it's customary to bring sweets to all your neighbors when you move in, which makes a great opportunity to start making friends. If you don't know your neighbors, then you can start small. Bring a basket of cookies to them. Or make the first move. You can tell them about something that you have that they can borrow anytime they want. Just be cautious though, because if you're unlucky with this one, this can get a little out of hand, and before you know it, you're watching all of your neighbors' cats and babysitting their kids. Tip 18 is looking for credit card rewards programs. A credit card with rewards is a great way to earn points that can be used towards flights, cash back, and other products. With so many credit cards on the market, it's hard to choose which ones offer the best benefits for your lifestyle, so I've actually created a list of my favorite credit cards that I recommend, and you can see that linked below. Tip number 19 is buying a thermal flask. The average American spends over $1,000 a year on coffee, and you can easily reduce this by simply buying a thermos and carrying it with you. You can make the hot coffee at home and then carry it around with you all day so that you don't have to go out and purchase coffee. And of course, if you're not a big coffee drinker like me, you can do this with tea too. Frugal people also save for retirement early on and often. You can do this with, for example, a 401k and Roth IRA. It's important to start saving and investing early because it takes time for your money to grow. So the sooner you start investing, the more time you'll have before retirement. You also want to save early so that you can truly benefit from the power of compound interest. Tip number 21, frugal people don't let others dictate their spending. When you're serious about living a frugal life, your friends often don't understand why you're doing it. This means that you'll be invited out to meals and encouraged to spend way past your budget. This is okay once in a while, but a frugal person always thinks about why they adopted the frugal lifestyle in the first place. Future pacing your goals makes it easier to remind your present self why spending over $100 on a good night out might be detrimental to the grand scheme of things. Frugal people stick to their guns and know when to say no. Maybe instead of going out for a night out, you invite people over for potluck and everyone brings a dish. This next tip can save you hundreds in the long run. Take care of things. In our fast-paced culture, it's easy to get wrapped into the throwaway mindset, always upgrading your smartphone, headphones, and buying unnecessary gadgets. Frugal people often ask themselves if they really need a new toaster or a Bluetooth fridge before going out and buying one just because it looks cool. Just think, if they stopped selling new electronics tomorrow, would you really miss the latest tech update? So as long as you look after the things that you already own, there's no reason that you can't keep using them for the next few years. Tip number 3 is tracking your expenses. I went over this one more in detail in my Kakebo video, which I highly recommend you watch if you haven't seen it yet. Tracking your expenses can save you a lot of money in the long run. Frugal people like to keep up with all their spending so that they can make sure they're staying on target. Even those small purchases you didn't even think about, like a little chocolate bar here and there. All these expenses slowly add up. So frugal people keep track of even these minor purchases. Only 2 more to go and you'll really like the last one. Frugal people try to carpool when they can. If you're back in the office, it's pretty easy to set up a carpooling board. You'd be surprised by the number of colleagues who also want to save money or just don't want to drive to work every day. And carpooling is a great way to get to know your colleagues outside of work. Last but not least, tip 25 is paying for yearly subscriptions instead of monthly. I'm sure you're aware of this, but a lot of times it costs more money to purchase something if you have to pay for it monthly rather than yearly. This concept applies to many things in life, and I think for me especially, I think about all the subscriptions that I use for my business, and it's always cheaper for that software to pay for it yearly rather than monthly. It's hard to believe, but all of those $10 plans start to add up. By paying annually, you not only get the annual discount, but it shows you the bigger picture. Once you know your annual spending, it makes it easier to cut out the services you don't need or switch to a cheaper provider when looking at your bills. What I like to do with any new subscription is to pay monthly for a few months to test out if I need it so that I can easily cancel. And then once I've decided if I need it, I'll just switch to the annual plan to save money. Now that you've learned some advanced frugal living tips, the next step is to learn how to manage your monthly budget in order to save the most amount of money. You can check out my video on exactly that right here. And don't forget to grab your 5 free stocks from Mumu using my link in the description below. And also, if you want to see more content from me, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.